If you've been around for a bit, you know I'm kind of notorious for hopping browsers. I spent the majority of my life in Chrome. Prior to that, I was a Firefox kid, but I just loved Chrome when it came out and stuck with it for a long time. Eventually, my roommate bullied me into using Arc. I realized how useful it was. I fell in love with the UI, the sidebar, and the general flow of using Arc. And then I watched it die. I have been going through it since then. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Zen, the browser that I use in the vast, vast majority of my videos. There's a lot to say about Zen. There's a lot to say about a lot of other alternative browsers. I don't even want to know how many browsers I have installed at this point. We got Comet, Helium, Zen, Brave, Dia, Orion, Safari Tech Preview, another instance of Zen, Chrome Canary. There's a ton. There are like 15 plus browsers that are worth mentioning now. Just spent some time trying to categorize all of the different browsers that are even somewhat relevant right now. Not talking about skins, talking about actual browsers here. So get out of here with your Mulvad and your Tors. I'm talking about things that are meaningfully different. There's a lot of them. And I've been through it with the majority of these browsers. The weird things happening to them are even stranger, like Perplexity trying to buy Chrome from Google. Oh man, I know too much. I've been through it. I run 2 browsers now. Zen is one of them. The other will be a fun reveal later on. We have a lot to dive into, and if I have to keep buying laptops for browser maintainers to make sure they work well on my MacBook, we need some funding to do it. So quick break for today's sponsor, and then we'll dive into the chaos that is the current state of browsers. Writing front-end code has never been easier, but finding the right design to start with has never been harder. Designers are still really hard to come by, and even the best ones need inspiration sometimes. Today's sponsor is here to help with that, and they do such a good job. When I first heard of Mobbin, I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. But then when I went and tried it for one of my ads, I immediately fell in love, and I use it almost every day now. Mobbin's a search engine for finding the exact UI references you need from real applications, both web and mobile. Let's say you're struggling figuring out how to make a good-looking chat UI for your application. Definitely can't relate there. We'll click on chatting and sending messages, and here's a bunch of apps that have a chat feature. There's a lot of categories here I may or may not care about, like I don't give a shit about crypto. So let's change this over to AI chats. Now here are different AI chat UIs from various applications that they've went and screenshotted, documented, labeled, and provided to you, including videos now too, which is so nice to see how different applications handle these different UIs. Everything on the site's an actual text method, so I can find paywall the same way I find anything else. And here are how all the different AI apps handle paywalls in their apps. This is actually really useful as we figure out how we want to do paywalling in the T3 chat app. Seriously though, Mobbin has changed how I find inspiration for the applications I'm building, and if you've noticed the apps I'm making look better, Mobbin's a huge part of why. Stop hunting Google images in the App Store for references when there's a platform built for this specifically. Check them out today at soydev.link/Mobbin. Okay, I've been going through it. I'm not going to lie. This is the whole list. This is all of the browsers. I'm going to take some time with y'all to quickly remove a handful to make life easier. I don't think Opera's worth talking about because I'm not sponsored by them, and if they offered, I would say no. I don't think Sigma OS is worth talking about because the team is pivoted and is doing different things. I'll talk about Firefox. I don't want to, but I will. Arc is dead. I've beat that horse to the ground. Dia is misery. We'll probably have to talk about Dia, but I don't want it to be the focus, so we're crossing that off. Ladybird has admittedly made more progress than I expect, but we're talking about browsers you can actually use. This is the point. And Ladybird does not offer any improvements for the user experience at all. It's meant to be an alternative just because. It's not meant to be a new or better browser in any way. It's just meant to be another browser. Everything else here has some reason to exist, other than maybe Firefox, but we'll bitch about that in a little bit, don't worry. So let's just go through the different browsers and talk about where they're at and where things are. We'll go top to right order. And now time for everyone's favorite, the Theo hot takes. Chrome's actually pretty good. The amount of positive impact Chrome has had on the web is really hard to appreciate. Before Chrome, there was a lot more chaos around the browser implementation details, where you'd have to have very special code in your websites to handle Internet Explorer versus Firefox versus Safari. Obviously, that's still the case to an extent, but the amount that is the case has gone down a ton, and the amount of things we can do in the browser has gone up a ton because Google pushed really hard to improve web standards. And to be clear, they didn't do this out of the kindness of their heart. They did it for very specific reasons. Google wanted the web to win because they hated building desktop apps. They were dealing with the absolute shit show that was stuff like the Google Earth desktop app, the Google Play Music Manager, which was a big part of my life back in the day. And to put it lightly, building desktop software just kind of hurt Google in every sense. Desktop software would require them to work way harder for every new idea, increase the friction to try out one of those new ideas, deal with people on outdated versions all of the time. Desktop software was making it so Google could not do the things they wanted to do. But the browsers were so bad that they were not a good, viable platform for the things Google wanted to do. Chrome was a balance. Chrome gave them the ability to improve the web consistently so that they could ship things faster in the browser and not need to compete on desktop software. Google doesn't release programs you install anymore because they don't need to. That's why they invested so heavily in the web. On top of that, the core of Chrome, Chromium, is open source, and that has enabled so much shit, including all of the browsers in this side of the list. Chromium is so good and standard that it is the choice that most make when they're building a new browser. There are exceptions, like the browser I'm using right now, Zen, which is Firefox based, which I'm sure we'll get to in a bit. There's a lot of reasons people pick Chrome. You can say it's because Chrome's a monopoly and they've taken over the web. I would phrase it a bit differently because all of these are open standards. I would say that Chrome has the best implementation of the majority of these standards, and as a result, is the best experience for most users. Google has poured absurd amounts of money and time into building this browser, and they don't keep you from reusing it. Some of Google's biggest competitors, like Microsoft, use Chrome as the base for their browser, Edge. Think about how insane that is. What other examples are there of a company shipping one of the most important pieces of software on their platform as a light wrapper around their biggest competitor's solution? Google chose to do things this way because they want the web to win, because if the web doesn't win, Google is going to have a really bad time. And if the web winning gives their competitors advantages too, they don't care because they're much better off if the web wins. They don't care if everybody else gets a 2x win if they can get a 3x instead. And they can, especially because with the standard version of Chrome, they have access to a lot of data that they probably shouldn't. And that's where the monopoly stuff comes in, which is where things get really chaotic and fun. There's a lot of people who are pushing for Google to be forced to sell off Chrome. I don't think these people understand how little money Chrome makes, or more importantly, how absurdly expensive it is to maintain Chrome. There are literally thousands of engineers who work on Chrome. Hundreds upon hundreds of them are working on it full time. That's not a cost that most people can eat, especially because that cost is not one you can really turn a profit off of on top, because Chrome is provided for free. In fact, Chromium, the open source base where most of this work is being done, is so absurdly free that if you just use standard Chromium without Google's Chrome flavor, Google gets literally nothing for that. They do not make a single cent off of a Chromium user. They also don't make a single cent off of a Brave user, off of a Helium user, off of an Edge user, off of a Vivaldi user, off of an Opera user. But because that makes the web better, people are more likely to use Google services. Since I use the web more because Chrome and Chromium made the web better, I'm more likely to spend time on YouTube. I'm more likely to subscribe to YouTube Premium. You're more likely to subscribe to my channel. By the way, it's free to do. There's a little button at the bottom of the channel. Hit the red sub button. It helps us out a bunch. The point I'm trying to make here is that the web ecosystem is the goal of Chrome, not Google owning the ecosystem, which is how it is perceived. I honestly don't think they care. If they did, they wouldn't be as generous as they are with the Chromium source. The reason Google makes Chrome is they want the web to win. They want the web to be better. But now there are some rough edges here. If I open stock Chrome, which is a thing I don't do very often nowadays, you'll see, if I move this, there's a little new button in the corner here, the Gemini button. My face is covering the Gemini box that came up, but it's here. They're trying really hard to shove Gemini and Google's AI stuff into every single surface that they possibly can. Gemini being forced into Chrome is one of the better examples of Chrome kind of being operated in monopolistic fashion. The fact that they have a different, separate business vertical, which is AI, and they are forcing it into a thing that they already won, which is browsers, is leveraging from different verticals in a monopolistic way. That all said, I don't know anyone who hits the Gemini button in Chrome. Even like my mom. I don't think anyone actually uses that. I could be proven wrong, but you'd have to put a lot of work in. It can't even scroll the page you're on. All it can do is take a screenshot of the page you're on and then summarize it using the Gemini APIs. It is a garbage, useless implementation. Nobody actually uses Gemini in the browser. But the act of them putting it there is monopolistic. You can make an anti-competitive argument and possibly force Google to sell Chrome. And this is why we had drama recently where Google was potentially going to be forced to sell Chrome and all the companies that were interested in buying it. Perplexity, which I don't know anyone still using Perplexity, by the way. It was like cool for a bit until search worked in the other AI chat apps. They made a $34.5 billion offer to buy Chrome from Google, which is interesting because they recently raised money at a $20 billion valuation. So they'd be buying Chrome for almost 2 times how much money the company is worth. To be fair, if that offer was to be accepted, I am positive that they could go raise enough money to cover that. But they weren't making this offer because they intended to do it. They were making this offer because they very specifically wanted free marketing. So congrats, Arvind and crew. You got mentioned in a video. You'll probably be mentioned again soon and possibly not in as good of a light. We'll see where that goes. Regardless, Perplexity as an AI search tool has been trying to pull more and more of the web into their world. That's also why they put out their browser, Comet, which we'll be talking about in a bit. So yeah, Chrome is totally fine. If you're already using Chrome and you're happy with it, enjoy. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Chrome is relatively boring beyond all the chaos that we just went over. I know I said I was going to go left to right, but I want to clear out some of these first. Edge is pretty simple. Microsoft was tired of dealing with Internet Explorer. The code base was a shit show. The things it supported were terrible. Keeping it up with web standards was hellish. And the first thing people would do when they boot up a computer with a fresh Windows install is open up IE to go install Chrome. And they knew that. They accepted that. And they built Edge to be Chromium-based so they could move away from the chaos of the old IE code base and make something much more stable, much better maintained, and just a better experience for their users. And they did. I know a lot of people who unironically like Edge. I know people who unironically use Edge on their MacBooks. Kind of funny. To each their own. Edge has some nice UX wins when compared to Chrome. They have a sidebar. Cool. They're slightly more private. Cool. Not too much else to say about it. Since Microsoft doesn't make a lot of money off your information compared to Google, Google's whole business is selling ads and selling data because they know so much about you, they can give you better ads. Microsoft doesn't have an ads business. So they're not selling you anything other than the operating system. They just want Edge to be better. And since Edge started on top of the IE core, the initial reputation it had was shit. Now it's starting to have better reputation, doing better overall. Apparently, they also shoved Copilot in order to be competitive with the shit Gemini implementation in Chrome. Both are useless and garbage. I wouldn't recommend either. But yeah, they both have AI features now, in quotes. Cool. You get the idea. Edge exists. Speaking of existing, Brave. I'm sorry, Keith. Brave is not a good browser. Every time I try it, I run into so many strange issues. Every time one of our users uses it, they cause us so many strange issues. A huge part of why I had to switch CAPTCHA systems 3 times for T3 chat is because most CAPTCHA systems break terribly in Brave because they try too hard to make it impossible to fingerprint. This is the perfect contrast for my chat here. First message, people get tribal around Brave. Second message, I want to love Brave so much. Third message, watching this on Brave, no issues whatsoever. Next message, I hate Brave. This is the problem. Brave should be a good browser. In my opinion, Brave is not a good browser. Be it all the weird spam to try and get you to buy into their cryptocurrency web browsing bullshit, or the way too aggressive shield system, which cool, it has ad block built in. Awesome. Yeah, it is what it is. I get why people don't want to be fingerprinted. I get why people want to be private. I respect and appreciate all of that. Brave makes your experience using the web worse in order to do it. And even if that wasn't the case, all the weird shit I've run into with it is enough for me to never touch it. Let me find some of my previous attempts. I was trying to find a specific thing I said about Brave in the videos, but here is Brave complaining that DuckDuckGo isn't actually an independent search engine because they're a Bing wrapper. And I ratioed them with, wait till you learn how Brave was made. Okay, when I last tried Brave, which was beginning of the year, the lack of any control over the hotkeys was driving me mad because the default sidebar hotkeys were shit. Even when you use them their way, everything lagged a ton. See, the flickering in and out, the animation was super inconsistent. You couldn't actually see what you were hovering over. It was really, really bad. It was one of the worst sidebars I've ever used. And the worst part, by far, is you don't actually gain any vertical real estate back, which is why I like sidebars. I like sidebars because I don't want this URL bar at the top. I don't want the tabs on the top. I want as much vertical real estate as possible because horizontal real estate is free. I have a ton of it just sitting there. I don't need all of the left and right of my screen. I want the top and bottom because I rock a really low resolution. I hated the sidebar implementation in Brave. They put work in. Oh, God, here. Do you see the animation jank there? How it like freezes up and has like frame drops as it goes in and out. The icons change. It like stutters in and out. The icons and the text move at a different rate and sometimes go out of the frame. It was so bad. It was so fucking bad. And I just wanted to disable the animation. I can't disable anything. I can't disable the animation, so I legit can't use it. It's so bad, I'll be reminded constantly that I'm using a shit browser. Vivaldi was bad too, but you could disable all of this. Yeah, I was on Vivaldi for a while. The thing I liked about Vivaldi is that every single fucking thing in Vivaldi is a toggle you can go change. And I did that a lot. I was on Vivaldi for a few months. Yeah, and the delay on the hover, you would hover and it would take so long. Does it still do that? Yeah, it does. So hovering now, it takes like a third to half a second before the hover goes over. It's long enough that you can't possibly click and leave before it happens. So you can't just like quick click without it starting to come out. But it's long enough that it feels like shit. There's a great opportunity to do slight UX enhancements on top of Chrome and make a browser that's really good. But Brave is too busy shilling crypto shit and promising privacy for that to ever be the case. I do not like Brave. I do not trust Brave. I do not see any value in Brave. It is not a browser I recommend, and I'm sure my comment section is totally not going to be a disaster because I dare to say that. Regardless, one of the options that I would like to put the line over because it causes more pain than it solves. Quick question I will ask you, viewer. Do you think Vivaldi is open source? Don't look it up. Don't get suspicious. Just be honest with yourself. The little you know about Vivaldi, do you assume it's open source from what you're aware of? I did. Sure, a lot of other people did. And I'm running a poll right now. Decent percentage of my audience also thought that Vivaldi was open source. I had assumed such because there's this class of tools that are so customizable and so community oriented that they get the free association with open source that they don't actually deserve. Things like Vivaldi, obviously guilty of this. My other favorite one by far, the other big one's Obsidian. Most people think Obsidian's open source. It is not. I get really annoyed about these things. It's not necessarily the fault of the creators. Like the guy who made Obsidian isn't false marketing it as open source. He's marketing it as decentralized because the data is yours. You can export the markdown wherever, but it's not open source. Vivaldi and Obsidian both seem open source because they're so customizable and they have these obsessive communities that are all Linux people. But neither of these things are open source. Neither of them are customizable beyond what customization they offer, and they offer so much customization that nobody actually cares. Vivaldi is somewhat source available. A lot is accessible, a lot is not, and they do not accept contributions. Yeah. Vivaldi is not open source in a traditional sense at all. That said, I had a pretty good experience with it. I was able to give Vivaldi relatively close to what I want, which, to be frank, if you've been around for long enough to know, I was looking for an ARC alternative. Vivaldi was not an ARC alternative at all, but by disabling a ton of shit in it, customizing it, and finding a set of plugins people made to make it feel and look and behave more like ARC, I could get a lot of what I needed, like my sidebar with a hotkey. Notice I don't have sidebar hover because that's not a feature that they have in Vivaldi. I can open close things with my custom hotkeys that they let me define myself. I don't use Command S for my sidebar because that collides with other programs. I use Command Shift E in every program that lets me customize it. So in my text editor, Command Shift E is my sidebar. In my browser, Command Shift E. In my other browsers, Command Shift E. That's how I do my sidebars. And I like when I can customize it. I go fucking insane when I can't. And thankfully, Vivaldi lets me customize literally everything, and I can get into a pretty good state. That said, I can't get rid of this top bar. The sidebar is not the most reliable thing in the world. I hit random bugs with it somewhat regularly. And honestly, if we're talking about the vertical real estate, which is the thing I care about here, let's go to t3.gg. You can see past the blog and then a bit there. And if we compare that to in Zen, sure I'm at the right zoom level, I am, you can see quite a bit more content in Zen. You can see a whole extra block and then past it, because the vertical real estate is not being stolen from me. I want my vertical real estate. Stop taking it from me. Vivaldi took basically as much space up vertically as other browsers did, like Chrome. So this is Chrome with the normal tab bar. This is Vivaldi without the normal tab bar. We're not saving that much vertical real estate. Like, we're really not. So as much as I got close with Vivaldi, the combination of weird issues I would hit here and there, and I had a lot of weird issues through my time with Vivaldi, probably because I was customizing the shit out of it, The fact that there is nothing you can do about this top bar, a couple people made hacks for it, but they just fucking broke the browser. And not open source, not very receptive to me pushing for changes. Overall, good crew, overall fine browser. I would never push for someone to move off of Vivaldi if they're happy with it. The fact that it was just customizable, it's without question the most customizable browser ever made, which is really cool. Just not quite where I needed it to be. That said, it was the browser I moved off of Arc for, and it took pretty good care of me. For a while, I was using Vivaldi as my work and Chrome browser and Zen as my content browser, because when I'm making content, I need every pixel of vertical real estate. I'm not willing to give it up. So Vivaldi would be my workhorse, and Zen would be my pleasure, nice to use, graphically pleasant to look at browser. As long as we weren't looking at gradients because of the Firefox gradient problem, which we'll probably touch on in a little bit. Regardless, Vivaldi was not bad. I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it, but I wouldn't push hard against it either. I'm already seeing dumb comments about the URL bar. I don't care. There is no way to put it in the sidebar. I'm not expecting to be able to see the whole URL all of the time, although, let's be real, when the sidebar is big enough, you usually can. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for my browser to not have unnecessary UI in it until I choose to have that UI. If I'm on a long URL, like a post on Twitter, I don't need to see the whole URL until I click. Then it shows me the URL. That's fine. Or when I Command T to go somewhere, then it shows me whole URLs again. Awesome. I don't need to see the full URL when I'm generally navigating the web. I don't care. Let me see it when I want, get it out of my way when I don't. There is no way to do that in Vivaldi. Whatever. A fine browser. I don't have much against it. I wish people realized it wasn't open source because they pitch it like it is. And it's a little buggy for my taste, but it's fine. I would be okay with anyone using Vivaldi or Edge or Chromium. They're all fine browsers. Brave has caused me far too much pain. I will never, ever, ever recommend it. And Arc is an utter shit show. And Opera is just a sketchy bastard. I would stay away from it. Cool. That's all for Chromium for now. Don't worry. We'll talk about the other one there. Now we need to talk about Safari-based browsers. There's one you might have heard of before. It's called Safari. How do I talk about Safari? Safari is a hard browser to talk about because I don't think there's any way to do it without pissing someone off. On one hand, it's the lightest browser in terms of battery usage. On the other hand, it's the only browser you can use on iOS. You can install other browsers, but they're all using Safari. Chrome on iOS is a Safari wrapper. It's not actual Chrome. It's not the Chrome engine. So if you're using an iPhone, you are using Safari, directly or indirectly. It's pretty performant. It's pleasant to use. It has nice animations. Apparently the news that there is no real browser on iOS is hitting a lot of people. Technically, WebKit, kind of. WebKit is too low level and primitive. There is a lot of layers around it that are a lot closer to Safari, which is what you have to consume for the web views in iOS in order to make a browser without getting banned from the App Store. In macOS 26, they got rid of the compact tabs view. Are you fucking kidding? That hurts me. Thanks for the info, but that is painful to know. Safari is a browser. It has some features, like it has pinned tabs, kind of. It has extensions, kind of. Emphasis on the kind of for that part. It has web standards-ish. Oh, it is a cool thing where when you're on different sites, it will theme the browser based on the site you're on. So the URL bar looks really cool. But if we do the t3.gg content test, you'll see it's performing about as well with screen real estate as Vivaldi did, and worse than Zen did, because this bar still takes up too much space. Also, the URL bars are smaller than they are in browsers that have normal tabs, or better, have a sidebar. You can see more of the URL in a browser like Zen than you can in a browser like Safari because they obfuscate fucking everything. And don't get me started on the weird bullshit inside of Safari. There are a lot of fun race conditions for me as a developer that we hit with T3 chat. There's a lot of fun things where promises aren't resolved when you're trying to do things with the fucking IndexedDB layer, and then you end up with impossible to debug issues. I have had so many problems dealing with Safari, trying to support things for our applications, that it has driven me mad. As much as I love shitting on Firefox, and I'll shit on Firefox all day, the bugs are, this looks bad and this renders weird. The bugs in Safari are, your website crashes my browser. Different world. Ugh, I don't like Safari. It's cool that it exists and that there's an alternative option. But there are other things based on Safari that we can talk about quickly. Like Orion. Orion's another fun one. It's by the guys who make Kagi, which is a search engine. It's a premium search engine. I'm paying for it. I'm using it a bit. It has bangs, and they're way slower than Undux, so I don't use it for most of my browsers, but it's there and it works. Cool. Free of ads, free of surveillance, free of noise. You have a limited number of searches a month, but you're paying for it, so it all makes sense. It's fine. A lot of cool people like them. A lot of my favorite people like them. They're fine. I have nothing against Kagi. I wish it was a bit faster when I was trying to search other places, but fine. Where things get interesting is their browser. Orion browser. A browser that honors the Mac experience. Lightning fast, ruthlessly private, 100% native, with the power of web extensions and zero bloat. I had heard a lot of people talk about this browser. I don't care that it's pronounced Orion. I really don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. Sorry, viewer. People in my chat are upset that I'm pronouncing it Orion, not Orion. I don't care, because the way I pronounce it does not matter, because you shouldn't be downloading it and using it either. Orion, or Orion, whatever the fuck you want to say, is Safari with kind of working, mostly broken support for Chrome extensions. All Orion is a Safari wrapper with a really fancy startup animation and nothing else that's useful. And it's closed source. Own your browsing experience. Support the revolution. Pay money for it. Supposedly it will be open source eventually. Never believe promises that things will be open source eventually. It never happens. This browser sucked terribly. I tried it for a day and churned because I tried so hard. And when I just thought it was Chrome-based because I assumed that if people liked it and were using Chrome extensions, it had to be. When I learned that it is the worst engine and they had stuffed Chrome extensions into it somehow, I got very upset. Not worth considering right now. That could potentially change if they open source it and you're looking for something that isn't Safari but is Safari-based. Cool. I have no idea how they're going to do Windows, Linux, and Android support when it's a Safari wrapper, but good luck to them. Have fun. Safari's already private. Don't care. I did just remember I missed something during the Chrome section that is worth talking about. I have a longer video on this everybody's mad about. Manifest v3 and ad blockers. I guess I'm just welcoming the storm in my comments right now. The enforcement of Manifest v3 was the right thing for the web. Google did not do it to block ad blockers, although I understand why people would think that, especially considering the fact that all of the money Chrome makes is through ads, because it's not Chrome making the money, it's Google. Manifest v3 was solving a problem that most people watching this video will not empathize with, but people with families and people with younger siblings, and more importantly kids, almost certainly will. Chrome had a really bad malware problem. I can't tell you how many people in my life had their computer in a basically unusable state because Chrome had so much fucking garbage in it. They had installed apps from Chrome that took over their computer. They had installed extensions from Chrome that monitored every single thing they did, sniffed every packet, it inserted bullshit into their pages constantly. Chrome's extensions gave too much permission to the extension authors. In particular, Chrome extensions through Manifest v2 could modify every single packet coming into and out of the browser. Somebody asked, was this on Chromebooks? Yes, but it was also on MacBooks. My sister's MacBook had to be formatted because of all of the fucking crap that she had managed to install in Chrome on it. I made her reset her Google account, reset her entire MacBook, and installed uBlock on it so she was less likely to click the buttons for these scam things, and told her to never click anything that installs or adds anything to Chrome going forward. Thankfully, that doesn't matter anymore because Manifest v3 plus the deprecation of Chrome apps has resulted in these problems pretty much vanishing entirely. So talk all the shit you want about AdBlock being 5% worse. That's not what v3 was about. v3 was about making Chrome less susceptible to stupid people ruining their web experiences and ruining their computer sometimes in the process. As Chad has correctly realized, Manifest v3 has to be enforced because otherwise everything will keep using v2 and all of these exploits will continue to exist. So yeah, I'm sorry that your ad block got slightly worse. I really genuinely am. Like, that does suck. Not having, like, yes, ads are how I make a decent bit of my money, but I understand due to the nature of ads doing things that aren't just making money, ads do a lot of fucked shit. In particular, make it more likely that you install malware. Having reduced quality and availability of ad blockers is not good. That said, uBlock Origin Lite is way more performant because the new protocol for doing it is a block list. A set of URLs is handed to Chrome and it says, hey, don't let these go through. And that has prevented the majority of the things that you would use an ad block for before. And also, as Chad is correctly pointing out, that filtering doesn't run in JavaScript, so it's able to run much faster. But also, browsers like Brave implement this on a browser level. Cool. We'll talk about that more in a bit. I just wanted to defend the Manifest v3 thing, although it does admittedly make Chrome a worse option because now Chrome's ad block experience is worse than other browsers that implement it at a browser level. It's also worth noting that Firefox still supports Manifest v2. Cool. Nobody using Firefox is falling for those dumb download links because nobody using Firefox even uses their computer. Speaking of which, Firefox time. Oh, Firefox. How I wish I could love you still. I have been Firefox's #1 anti-fan for quite a bit now. People used to be very mad at me for it because I care too much about gradients. I don't care. I'm right about the gradient thing. Hopefully the video encoding makes this relatively easy to see. It's very visible on my computer. There is very visible banding in the Firefox version and a smooth gradient on any Chrome-based browsers. This is because there is no gradient dithering in Firefox. This is the 15-year-old issue in Firefox that details how dithering still doesn't work. What's very funny about this, if we scroll a bit, my tweet is cited as the reason this is being prioritized again. I have done more for the Firefox browser and ecosystem than 99% of you motherfuckers in the comments section saying that I'm evil and bad for talking shit on Firefox. I'm fixing your fucking broken browser for you. It is what it is. Firefox works. It's not good, but it works. But it's also worth noting that it's no longer private. There is a phenomenal diff. When Firefox made changes to their license, they updated in their open source project the Q&A JSON blob that becomes the Q&A on their website, and they deleted this section. Does Firefox sell your personal data? Answer. Text. Nope, never have, never will. Firefox products are designed to protect your privacy. That's a promise. This is the PR where they removed this from the website. I have a whole video on that. Read into it as you will. My video is available if you want to find it. Firefox just gave up on privacy. I'm sure you can search for it and find it pretty well. So what's going on? Mozilla doesn't know how to make money. Right now, the majority of Mozilla's money comes from Google paying them to make sure that Google stays the default search engine. Google doesn't just do that because they want to be the default search engine on a browser with no real market penetration. They do that because they don't want to be seen as the only browser. Google found a fun workaround to justify funding the existence of their biggest competitor because they want it to exist because, again, their goal is to keep the web improving. Google's funding of Firefox is to keep the web getting better. It's not some evil move to make sure that everybody uses Google. They just don't want to be seen as a monopoly in a place where they don't want to be a monopoly. I straight up believe if somebody else had made a better browser 5 years ago, that Google wouldn't have given a shit. They would have been happy to not have to do this anymore. They're doing it because they have to, because they need the web platform to win. Firefox was a thing they supported heavily. They contributed to heavily. They were really involved in the Firefox project. They wanted things to move even faster, so they made Chrome. It is obvious that Chrome was heavily inspired by Firefox. There is a lot of overlap in their DNA. These are projects that grew and succeeded together. And Google has continued to fund Firefox. Google's one of the biggest supporters of Firefox. To be frank, Google likes Firefox a hell of a lot more than I do. Yeah. Firefox exists. It mostly works. It has a lot of strange implementation details. It's slow. It's battery heavy. It's not very fun to use nowadays, but it's okay. That said, I do spend a lot of my time in a Firefox-based browser, the one I'm using right here, Zen. I will still say pretty confidently that Zen is my favorite browser. I'm going to show you why by going to the marketing pages for these other options that we talked about. Brave browser, the browser that puts you first. Block ads, save data, get faster web pages by switching your browser. Okay, so it blocks ads and supposedly makes the web faster. It doesn't, but cool. Okay, how about Firefox? Take control of your internet. Go online with fewer distractions, noise, and stress. We're a bubble wrapper for your brain. Eh? Okay, how about Orion? Incredibly fast, built-in ad blocker, zero telemetry, web extension support. A browser that honors the Mac experience. You'll notice a theme here. Well, you might actually not notice because it's not really a theme. Like, it's not a thing they have in common. It's a thing that they're all not doing. None of them are doing anything different. All of them are saying, we're like a browser, but with less of X. They're all bragging about how they can do a thing that the other browser does, or they're not going to do a thing the other browser does. None are actually trying to make your experience better. Because none are trying to change your experience. They're trying to hide things from it, or maybe support a thing that was supported in one browser and not another. None of these browsers are actually trying to improve what it's like to use the web, except for Zen. I wish they would kill some of the marketing here, the privacy focus, like cool, but it's beautifully designed and packed with features. We care about your experience. The difference with Zen is that it is a small team of open source developers that need support, by the way. I highly recommend sending them some money on Patreon or whatever other support systems they have. I've donated a lot of money, and I bought one of the maintainers a MacBook because I want Zen to win. This is the best designed browser I've ever used. The amount of care, the amount of effort, the amount of details that they get right with what is effectively a re-roll of Arc, but built on top of Firefox instead of being built on top of Chrome, and truly fully open source as well. Zen is now more private than Firefox due to the recent changes to the license and the TOS and whatnot. More importantly, Zen's a better browser. Things like the sidebar, which is the best sidebar I've ever used in a browser. It has great hover behaviors. It has customizable hotkeys. It does what it's fucking supposed to. It separates things properly. It has splits and all the shit that people like. I don't need a lot of those features. But the fact that it makes it so easy for me to manage and reduce the amount of shit going on in my window is incredible. I have been very, very, very happy with Zen. The only issues I have with Zen, spoiler, you probably guess, Firefox. The Firefox part of Zen is the problem with Zen. That said, Firefox being as open as it is why they could make Zen, and it's a big part of why they chose to make Zen. They wanted something that was better designed, calmer, nicer to use, with all these little features. Okay, it's a little thing. Arc and Zen, for a long time, were the only two browsers that by default, with no customization, no extension, no bullshit, Command-Shift-C, the URL has been copied to the clipboard. I do that more than I do normal Command-C. My job is admittedly a lot of tossing links around. Like, I can't tell you how often I get sent a thing and then I have to copy it and throw it in my Notion or whatnot. I copy the page I'm on more often than I copy text on the page, without question. The fact that the alternative in most browsers is to memorize like 5 hotkeys to get to the URL bar, select all the content and copy it, or to click and then copy it. No, never again. If I'm on a page and I want to save it or send it to somebody, Command-Shift-C, go, paste, done. Anything that is more complex than that is a waste of my fucking time, and I will not do it anymore. I have brute forced this into other browsers. I wrote custom code in Vivaldi to scriptify it. But most browsers do not have a hotkey for this, and if they somehow do, it's either a set of hotkeys or it's not customizable. Arc introduced me to Command-Shift-C. I think they're the ones who started it, and now I need it. More than almost any other feature in any of these browsers, Command-Shift-C or I will go insane. It's just too ingrained in me now. It is what it is. Call me stupid, call me unwilling to learn and change. It's my willingness to learn and change that brought me here, and it's my stubbornness that keeps me here, for sure. Ugh. Regardless, Zen has all these little things. The team is super receptive. Whenever I have anything resembling an issue, they jump on it and fix it. And they fixed the dithering gradients thing somehow. I don't know how, but they did it. So what are my problems? Other Firefox weirdness where it uses too much memory. Battery life's not great compared to other Chrome-based browsers. The extension ecosystem isn't as good as in Chrome, and the extensions I use have a couple bugs here and there. I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm not coming up with much. Zen's a really good browser. I like it a lot. Oh, the pins are buggy, and sometimes I don't know if this is Firefox or YouTube or Zen, YouTube chat locks up constantly in Zen, and I just open it in my other browser, which we'll talk about in a bit, don't worry. Yeah. All of my issues with Zen are with Firefox, not with Zen. What's my favorite feature? It's the sidebar. The sidebar is so good. Hotkeys to open, close it, good hover behavior when you have it closed, a bunch of customization to change what is and isn't in it. The sidebar, and I can put it on the right side. I don't want my sidebar on the left side, because if the sidebar is on the left side and I'm on the right side, my face covers content. The sidebar on the right means my face covers the sidebar, and you guys don't need to see the fucking sidebar. It's great. I love the fact that I could put it on the right side. I became a right side sidebar guy because I put my video on here, and I don't want my face to cover the content. I'm okay with it covering the sidebar and things. Oh, they may or may not have DRM support. I thought they fixed it. They might not have. I don't care. I don't watch Netflix on a computer. I don't really watch media on a computer. Okay, I do. But on my Windows desktop running Chrome plugged into my TV, my computer is for work and for content, neither of which need DRM. So I don't care. So yeah, if you're looking for an alternative to Arc and you're okay with Firefox based and you want something that looks really nice, is pleasant to use, and has a team that works their asses off, I love the Zen guys. They're great. The reason that it doesn't support DRM content is they don't have Widevine licensing and you have to get approved from Google for doing that. Just use another browser. That's even their advice. Use a browser that has a Widevine license like Firefox when streaming DRM protected content. Oh, apparently they're getting rid of horizontal tabs entirely. That's a good call. If you want horizontal tabs, you probably don't want Zen. But that's the difference. Like, they're trying really hard to make a better browsing experience. They want to fundamentally change the shape of the browser, the UX of how we open things, change tabs, have profiles managed, all of those details. Largely based on how Arc did it, but they're going their own direction with a bit too. I like Zen a lot. It is a very good browser. I have my issues with the Firefox stuff. I wish the battery life was better. But for the most part, I'm happy with Zen. Oh, and the dev tools suck because Firefox's dev tools are garbage. I thought they were better than they are. I was wrong. I cannot use them. That's why I used Vivaldi so much, is I needed dev tools that worked. Let's quickly cover the special children before I go too deep down other rabbit holes. I briefly touched on Ladybird. I really want to emphasize the point here. Ladybird and Zen are exact opposites. These two browsers have literally nothing in common whatsoever. The goal of Zen is to take a look at how we use browsers today, see things that could be better, and do them better. The goal of Ladybird is looking at browsers, seeing that they exist, and wondering if another could exist. That's the stated goal of Ladybird. Can we create a new browser? The Venn diagram is two circles, yes. I mean, they're both open source, and they both can turn a URL into HTML. One of them can run JavaScript too. Ladybird is an experiment. It is a proof. In a world where people are trying to make cars that are electric, cars that are self-driving, cars that are more efficient, cars that are better, Ladybird is, can we build a car ourselves? To be very, very clear, there is no world in which Ladybird is ever a better browser than any other browser. But that's not the goal of Ladybird. The goal of Ladybird is to prove you can still make a browser, not to be a good browser. That's why I don't like talking about it, because I don't care. I'm not invested in the essence of what a browser could be. I'm invested in using the web. Zen is trying to make using the web better. Ladybird is trying to make it so you can use the web at all. There is no overlap between these projects. I couldn't give less of a fuck. Ladybird is the FreeBSD of browsers if FreeBSD was less usable. If we compare this to Linux more in depth, Zen is like a Linux Mint or an Omakua or one of these new distributions of Linux that's focused on making the experience better for most people. Ladybird is FreeBSD. Ladybird is trying to prove that you can do it from scratch yourself still. But imagine if FreeBSD was started today. Imagine somebody making a new OS from scratch today. It would actually probably be easier than making a new browser, and also probably more valuable. Yeah. And I am aware that BSD isn't Linux. That is the point. That is the thing I am saying, chat. Ladybird is not using any existing technologies in its implementation because it just wants to be another browser. It wants to reinvent everything under the hood. Cool, fine. It'll be a really nice science fair project if they pull it off. But it's not going to be a good browser because they're not trying to make a good browser. They're trying to make a browser. Zen is trying to take other browsers and the things that are good about them and make something better. Zen is trying to improve your experience browsing the web. Ladybird is trying to prove that they can browse the web at all. I don't fucking care. So we're going to move on from Ladybird. Please stop asking about it. It's not a usable browser. We'll talk about the AI-focused stuff for a second, because this sadly seems like where browsers are going. My beloved Arc had to die so Dia could be shit. I have a lot of videos explaining how much disdain I have for Dia. Browser company, the people who made Arc, realized that no one's going to pay money for Arc, at least not enough people to justify the 130 plus employees that they have. Dia is their attempt at an AI browser. It's Chrome, but with the AI built in more aggressively. And it doesn't fucking work. I've tried it quite a few times now. Dia doesn't fucking work. Imagine if the weird floating Gemini thing was just built in. I have it installed. I have to update it. First off, vertical real estate wars. One of the things I loved about Arc was how good it was with vertical real estate. It has the worst vertical real estate of any browser I've used. Can't even fit the blog item on the page at the same zoom level. But here's what I wanted. I had done this post in June. What are your biggest frustrations with T3 chat right now? And I wanted to collect all of this data. So let's do it. Summarize all of the replies to this post. Make sure you check all 500 plus of them. Seems like it worked, right? Here's a fun thing. All of those were ones that are in the first scroll because it will not scroll and hit the loading buffers. Can you categorize all the replies and give me a table showing the most common complaints based on the visible replies. It won't even fucking scroll a page for you. It takes the HTML that is currently in the page, parses it as context, and gives you what it thinks is the answer. It's not an AI browser. It's an AI widget built into the browser that you can talk to the HTML with. This is not useful. 130 employees, by the way. Garbage. Useless. A beautiful browser had to die so Dia could be shit. I'm crossing it back off because I don't care. Apparently, we're talking about Arc and Dia at this point in the video. Sorry for the outfit change. It's actually been a bit since I recorded that one. For the most part, the video is more relevant than ever. But if you're wondering why I didn't mention that Atlassian bought Browser Company, it's because I filmed that video 2 days before Atlassian bought Browser Company. So yeah, take that as you will. Everything else I say is still very true. Speaking of not caring, DataSurf is vaporware. They've been teasing it forever on a wait list. I've never actually seen someone use it. I don't believe it's real. So what we're left with now is Comet. Oh, Comet. Comet is Perplexity's browser. I have it installed. I've never used it. Let's try. Oh, fancy startup animation. Oh God, that's making sound. I'm sorry. Go away. Stop. Do I have to? You have to watch this to boot the browser the first time. Why can't browsers be good? I am so fucking annoyed right now. Look at all the browsers I could import shit from. Do this later. Is it still playing sound? What's this fucking PlayStation 3-esque bullshit? How can I make it stop? There. Finally. God damn. Why can't browsers be normal and fucking good? No. No. Start. Cool. It's laggy as fucking balls. I am now signed in. This might be the worst score on the vertical real estate test. Yeah. God. This is taking up so much space it doesn't need to. But let's ask it. Summarize the replies to this post. Give me a table that breaks down where all 500 plus of them fall. Apparently, my experience is limited because I don't have a formal Comet invite. I thought I did, but whatever. Then we have to sign in to it too. Okay, let's try again. This one can actually scroll the page. Magic. I've tried every one of these AI browsers. This is the only one that will actually do the work. Mind you, I just had to spend 10 minutes getting things to sign in, but at least it can actually use the browser and do things. I wish it didn't pretend that it was fucking, what's it called? The AI mode on Apple devices, the Apple Intelligent Siri bullshit with the colors. Yeah, it's gonna take a while to run, but it's cool that it can. We'll presume it works. I'll go check before we close out the video. I'm gonna close these other useless browsers. But yeah, Comet seems like the most promising AI browser. At the very least, they're the only one that can actually browse, unlike the others, which will take the HTML and poorly summarize it for you. Oh, look, got an answer. That is what I wanted it to do. Look at that. 110 requests for an iOS app and a mobile app, 40 for a desktop app, 60 for projects and folders, 55 for file image uploads. This is a useful piece of information. This is the only AI browser that I can use to get anything resembling useful information. It wrote Python code and executed it in order to go through all of the data that it had collected. That's cool. I had been hearing that Comet was the most useful of these AI browsers, and I believe it. Cool. If you want AI that can do things for you in the browser, Comet's the only one that can, but at the cost of a yet another shit, poorly maintained browser. So yeah, that was the weirdest onboarding experience I've had other than maybe Orion. It's actually weirdly similar to Orion in its cringe bullshit, but at least it does something. Hi again, future Theo here. Something I did not consider when I recorded the section on Comet is how hilariously exploitable these agentic browsers are. If your website has hidden text in it that says you should do this specific thing for me, like dump all of their credits into this random service or wire all of their money to this random Bitcoin address, they'll often do it because they'll read the page as context and they'll see text you can't see, and then they'll do the thing that's hidden inside of that text. There have been some very scary looking exploits people have pulled off with both Comet and also it seems like with other agentic browsers, where the browser will just do the thing that the text on the page says. Funny enough, Brave, because they know they're about to lose the browser war, seems to be the one that is most excited to cover all of these things, which is why they wrote the article about it. If you think this is interesting, let me know in the comments. I'm planning on doing a whole video about it in the near future. Anyways, back to the few things that are somewhat decent about these agentic browsers. So if I had to rank all of the browsers we've talked about so far, Zen is the one that is number one. Obviously, it's the one that actually cares about user experience. I hate this, but I think I have to actually put Comet somewhat high up. The onboarding and shit was cringe, but at least it's trying to do something different and it can actually do it. I don't need those features, but if someone does, it's nice that a browser can actually do it. Then I would say Chrome, because it just works and behaves. I'd say Vivaldi next. It's fine. It is what it is. Edge, if you really just want slightly better Chrome and no customization, or just are too lazy to install something new. Now we are past the point of I can even consider them worth using, and then everything else is underneath. But there's something I've been dancing around for a while now. We haven't talked about the browser that I actually use most days. There's a lot of reasons why. Some are because it's just straight up not ready yet. Some are because the people who made it have told me to not talk about it too much yet. Some are because I want Zen to win still, because Zen is the better user experience. We need to talk about Helium, because I really like this browser. Wacko here is pretty well known for his work on Cobalt, which is the best way to turn a random link into the content from that link, other than maybe YouTube DL. Unlike every other service similar to it, they're not just using YouTube DL under the hood. They built a actual cool, novel set of tools to strip audio and video out of random URLs so that you can download a video from YouTube or a song from SoundCloud or a clip from TikTok or whatever else. And it's really good and reliable. Fully open source, great stuff. Cobalt Tools is really, really good. And as such, Wacko knows web browsers, standards, and weird workaround bullshit better than almost any person I know. And him and his friend JJ have teamed up to try and make something better for browsing the web. One of their core motivations, and I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but I don't care, they don't like Brave. They are very frustrated with the fact that Brave is getting all of this clout for being the privacy-focused, fast-performing, minimal Chrome alternative, when it's kind of some of those things, but also has a lot of its own problems. I love the description. Bullshit-free web browser, work in progress. Yep. Based on Chromium, follows inputs, ethics, and norms, very work in progress, not meant for public or end-user consumption yet, etc. So use with caution. Right now, it's only for macOS, but they absolutely plan on packaging it for other things in the future. A lot of their inspiration, a lot of the source for how they started is based on ungoogled Chromium. It would have been possible for them to get rid of Google's bloat and get a development plus build pipeline this fast without it. And the process for building this is actually kind of insane. Most of the code base is C patch files. The code base is a bunch of patch files. Yes, really. The way you do a build is you download the Chromium source code, apply all of these patches, and then generate the browser. This isn't a Chrome fork. It is a set of patches for Chrome source. It's really fucking impressive that they have made something as good as they have exclusively through patch files. And they don't even come up in the language check thing here because patch files are ignored in the language detection on GitHub. I'm happy you guys understand how mentally ill this is. Crazy genius, love to see it. That's stupid, that's genius, that's wild. They're insane for this. It's amazing. You know you're in the minds of coding when you have patch files as your code base. Yeah. They're working their asses off to make this viable. And they have done a lot of cool things. Let's just quickly list cool things about Helium. Chrome-based, but really, it's as close to a Chrome browser as you're going to get without it being Chrome. Really private. And when I say really private, I mean it. It doesn't have the weird stuff built in like Brave does. You have to go turn off to keep Brave from getting your data. But more importantly, they found other things that none of the other browsers do that could be used for fingerprinting. For example, by default, when you install an extension from the web store on Chrome, Google tracks that and sends metadata to their own servers as well as to the people who made the extension. When you install an extension on Helium, it will download it on their infra and mirror it. So they never send any data to Google whatsoever for your extension installs. Google doesn't know what extensions you're running when you're using Helium. No one does. They're the only browser I know of that obfuscates the extensions that you have installed. They're also obsessed with polish. And when I say that, I mean it. The little things they've done to polish the hell out of the browser. Remember the vertical real estate test? That's one of the best scores we've had. It gets past the blog box and we start to see the sponsors box. How can it have more vertical real estate than Chrome? You might not have noticed because it's subtle, but if we compare it to Chrome, back and forth or side to side, see how much smaller the real estate being taken is. They've shaved off a third of the top bar. It still has tabs, and it still has a smaller top bar than Vivaldi, than Safari, than most other browsers, because Wacko put so much time into finding every single place he could shave pixels off the top there to make it narrower without taking away context. It has bangs built in, which is actually my least favorite feature because their bang implementation is not perfect and has bugs here and there. It's so Chrome-based that you can't do custom search engines by default. You have to use an extension for it, so I still have to make an extension for Unduck. I plan to do that. They recently got auto-updating working, which is really cool. Let me go check the Discord and see what else they have mentioned in it to make sure I get everything. Oh. Helium's 10% faster than it was before, so it's faster than almost all browsers, even with uBlock Origin enabled. If you compare the speedometer results, the only thing that's faster is Chrome, but if you compare it to Brave, it's quite a bit faster because they're trimming the right shit. Although Wacko says immediately afterwards, benchmarks don't mean anything, but it's still cool, especially because Helium feels faster even without that. See all these details? These are all just UI subtle things that they have been putting a lot of effort into, like changing how the tab closing animation works, making sure that the one tab view looks good. Oh, apparently they have split view tabs. I didn't even know that. How do I split a tab? Ah, here we go. Yeah, they even have split views. I didn't know they had these. Cool. That's really nice that they have that. Lots of effort into the subtle details, little bits of additional feature adds, ton of focus on privacy and security, and not in the like elitist way, in the much more practical way. I've yet to have a thing that I couldn't do because I was on Helium. I have not had a single instance where I was like on a site and something broke and then I went and tried it in Chrome and it worked. Ever. There are things it doesn't have though. Things that, I'll be frank, I don't give a single fuck about, but I already see people in chat complaining. Let's talk about those. No mobile support. But remember, no browser actually works on iOS, so stop fucking asking about that. iPad, iPhone, doesn't matter. They're all just Safari with fancy wrappers. I don't fucking care. I use Safari on my phone because everything else is a joke. That also means no tab sync. I hate tab sync. I do not want my tabs to be shared across different devices. I will never understand the people who feel otherwise. I think you're all literally insane. Cool, though. I'm not going to like sit here and talk shit on it. I don't understand it at all. I just cannot fathom why you would want that. But cool. Have fun with it. No Windows, Linux yet. Yeah. No vertical tab bar. They're kind of working on it. It's not a big focus for them because I don't think Wacko wants it. He's doing it because I donated them a bunch of money. And I specifically donated the money and said, don't listen to me. Don't build this browser for me. Build this browser to be good. And I'll give you feedback on things I do and don't like throughout. I really want the vertical tab bar. I'm scared of pressuring them to do it. But honestly, they've saved so much real estate. I don't feel crippled the same way I do in every other browser that isn't Zen or Arc. Okay, I have people trying to defend the fucking like shared tabs thing. You're on the toilet and read a great nerd article and want to read it later on your computer. Send it to the other device. That is not sharing tabs. I have 150 plus tabs open on my phone right now. I don't want them on my goddamn computer. Do you know what I do if I want to read something somewhere else? I use something for it. I like Raindrop. I used to really like Pocket. It's a shame Mozilla didn't and killed it. So I have this issue. I don't want to keep losing it. So I'm going to put a note in here that is Firefox gradient bug that cites my tweet, LOL. And add in here content as one of my tags because I use this in content. Saved. Now I have access to this page everywhere with a tag that clearly indicates what it is, a history that is ordered in time, actually useful. If you want to share things between different places, use a solution for that. Don't blindly share your entire history and all of your tabs across. I need to not be nervous sniped by this. I think it's fucking stupid. I cannot fathom a world where people actually want all of their tabs across all of their devices to be shared. It makes no sense to me at all. I use my phone for different things than I use my Windows computer for, which I use different things than I use my MacBook for work for. No. Why would you want that? I don't get it. You people are what you are, and I just don't understand. Okay, what else is bad about Helium? I'm personally annoyed by the bangs thing. So I just want to use mine, but I'm just going to move it over to be using fucking Unduck soon. I'll make an extension. It'll be fine. My problem. It won't do my laundry for me. That's kind of annoying. It is low on customization because it's Chrome-based. So it has about as much customization as you have in Chrome. No AI features. If people don't know about bangs somehow, I thought I've talked about this enough throughout my life. DuckDuckGo is my default search engine, even though I never use it. What the fuck do I mean? Let's say I want to look up corgis. I can press enter and look up corgis on DuckDuckGo. But let's say I don't want that on DuckDuckGo. Let's say I want it on Google Images because I want to look at pictures. Exclamation point GI, because exclamation point is a bang. Now I'm searching it on Google Images. Notice how slow it is to redirect because DuckDuckGo has the worst DNS of any service I've ever encountered in my fucking life. Refresh, and that time it worked. Sorry for the flashbang. Blame DuckDuckGo, the worst infrastructure company I've ever had to face in my entire fucking life. Not only did that take a while, it froze. I had to manually refresh to make it work. It would not have resolved. This is why I made Unduck, because I liked bangs so much. And I didn't want them to require me to wait for DuckDuckGo's servers to care enough to respond. So I built it into a local first app that is a big JavaScript file that will do the redirect for you, and that is my default search engine. My search engine in Zen is Unduck. So if I type in corgis, it says search with Unduck, exclamation point GI, instantaneously goes to Google Images. Exclamation point YT, instantaneously goes to YouTube. YouTube is slow, but loads fast otherwise. Exclamation point YT, Theo Dev. There I am. Very, very nice. I like the workflow so much that I dealt with DuckDuckGo for 10 years, hated it more every day, and have built my own search engine to just copy that one feature. I really like bangs. I cannot use a browser without this at this point. I just instinctively do exclamation point G at the end of everything because I still search Google. So I've probably wasted more time than I've saved with bangs, especially because I built my own implementation. But it's such an ingrained behavior, I'm stuck with it now. Helium has their own implementation. I disabled it because their implementation had a lot of really weird bugs and edge cases that I kept on hitting. So I don't use it. I'm thankful they let me disable it now, but they want to make it work. So when it's working, I'll probably move to it. But until then, I'm going to be planning my Unduck takeover. It is what it is. Cool. The real big potential bad thing about Helium, and this one's actually important, I have no idea where it will be in a year. I'm really hesitant to recommend browsers now because of how bad I feel about the Arc thing. I really liked Arc. I recommended it for reasons that mattered to me and mattered to a lot of y'all. There are probably between 10 and 100,000 people that used Arc because of me. I feel terrible about that because Arc has went to utter shit. There are at least 10,000 people who still use Arc every day because of me, and I feel awful about that fact, that they're using a browser that's making their life harder now. I just feel bad. I don't want to do that again. I don't want people stuck on a dead-end browser that isn't going to be maintained or go anywhere. Even with Zen, that's a risk. But the amount of focus and drive and energy those guys have and their willingness to eat shit to make it happen, I have a lot of high hopes for Zen. And the thing that will make Zen win is getting a lot of users so they have reasons to maintain it and the financial support and everything else they need. Helium doesn't need any of that. Obviously, if you want to go donate to them, I highly recommend it, especially for the Cobalt tool side of things. Support these developers. The InputNet crew is awesome. I love these guys a ton. Okay, one last interruption. Helium devs hit me up as soon as I filmed the video and started addressing as many of the things as they possibly could. Half of what I have in that list is no longer relevant. The biggest part by far, though, is that they're now finally publishing builds for both Helium Windows and for Helium Linux. So very quickly from when I filmed to today, suddenly you have the ability to use this on multiple different operating systems. So yeah, I don't know the state of these yet. They seem like they've gotten along pretty far, pretty fast. I've heard good things. Helium is quickly becoming one of the most compelling browsers in the entire world. Back to the glaze. But the thing that keeps Helium being maintained is that Wacko and JJ want to keep maintaining it. This is entirely dependent on them, and right now, they haven't even released it yet. I'm doing this video without their permission, and they might be mad at me for it. I might have to delay this video a long time until they tell me it's ready to go. I told them the moment they give me the sign that it's time to start shilling Helium, I will do it immediately. They've not given me that sign yet. But I want to talk about the state of browsers, and I can't do that without talking about the browsers I use. And right now, those browsers are Zen when I'm filming and when I'm screen sharing or just want things to look nice, and Helium when I have work to do. That's how I browse the web now. This browser, Helium, has been incredible for me. If you want a more private, less plugged in version of Chrome, and you don't care about all the things in this list, and you're using a Mac, it's worth giving it a shot. I've been very happy with it. I've had a good time with this browser, and it's nice to finally get to talk about it more publicly, even if I don't have formal permission to. So if we go back to my list of browsers, in terms of how I feel about them, I actually have two at the top. Zen and Helium are the browsers that I have the most faith in right now, and I hope they stay maintained, and I hope they keep improving, and I hope we don't end up with another situation like Arc. At the very least, both Helium and Zen are fully open source, so if things go poorly, we should be good. I have contributed thousands of dollars to both of these browsers because I'm going out of my way to make sure that they are well maintained, that the maintainers are well supported, well funded, and don't have anything else to worry about if they can avoid it. I want them to win. Comet is funded by a multi-billion-dollar startup. Chrome is funded by a multi-trillion-dollar business. Vivaldi exists somehow. They do have subscription services and shit they sell in the app, and they make enough money. It's kind of a lifestyle business. And Edge is another multi-trillion-dollar company. So of the browsers I consider usable and interesting, $20 billion valuation, multi-trillion, doing well, I don't know how well, multi-trillion. And then at the top, we have these two lonely open source projects by small teams trying to make the web actually better to use. Feel no shame if you're staying with Chrome. If Comet's weird AI features help you, cool, happy for you. But if you just want a better web, if you just want to use a browser and not be angry at it all the time, you should give Zen and Helium a shot. They're really good browsers. I've been so happy with them. Helium has added all the little things I want, other than the sidebar. I have my Command-Shift-C for copying a link. I have way more vertical real estate. I have an ad blocker that's built in that's really good. I have what I want with Helium. I am happy. I have a really nice experience with Zen. I am happy. And I hope the utter chaos we have went through here helps you make better decisions around your browsers as well. I think I'm finally out of things to say on this topic. Thank you for hanging out. Have fun surfing the web. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, peace, nerds.